Yo, Roller Coaster, congrats on that win.
Yes. Okay. So real quick before we get into this next max, I want to say GG to my buddy Turtle. He played super well. That was crazy intense. It was super scary. And his team is really good. If you are looking to like dip your toes into new Series 8 stuff and you aren't sure what to try, I highly recommend it. He has a rental code for it. I think we've already plugged the team report. It's really good. I'm going to link it again. But Turtle,
super good.
You're an awesome dude. Great set, man, as always.
Yeah, and the team report is really thorough. Like, Turtle walked you through like what the EVs are meant to do, as any good team report should. And I think the Torn Ogre right now is just tearing up the early meta in Series 8.
Yeah. Torn Ogre's a super solid core. I have an Echo apparently. I'm not entirely sure how to fix that.
No.
But yeah, if you want to do...
Oh, is this an absolute mirror match?
Oh, is it?
Oh
my god, it is.
Yeah, I think that I've seen, this is one of the few teams that I've seen like floating around the Twitterverse, right? As a rental team for early, of course, the Kyogre Kingdra combo. The interesting thing though here is a Pikachu instead of a Raichu, right? It does a lot of the same things as Raichu, but not quite the same.
Potentially a Gigantamax Pikachu.
Yeah, which of course can paralyze both things on the other side of the field.
Yeah, this is like not like it seems to be an identical mirror match, and it's like the worst kind because it looks like it's going to come down to a lot of speed ties, a lot of like seeing how each player is going to be able to position themselves.
Yeah. And of course, that Kingdra does have max airstream, I'm pretty sure. One way, the Tornadus has Tailwind, right? But otherwise, I feel like we're looking at an identical mirror match. So yeah, putting those Pokemon in the right position is going to be important. And of course, I think this Tornadus actually has Breaking Swipe to proc the weakness policy on the Metagross.
Yeah. So that super kind of like pretty standard stuff. Like Metagross is a Pokemon that benefits itself from the rain defensively really well. Indeed's great redirection. Psychic Terrain is also really good because it prevents like any prankster stuff from going off. Pikachu, like this is something that always takes me by surprise. It does so much damage with Light Ball. Like you don't really think about it, but it like becomes a monster. And Pikachu is actually in a like solid-ish speed tier, not quite so solid for the format that we're currently in, but it does outspeed Kyogre, and both players have Tailwind. My dream is that these are max like G-Max Pikachus, and we get to see G-Max Pikachu versus G-Max Pikachu. The P.
I love it. I love the P. It's so fun. I know. I actually played with this team a couple times, just in a couple casual battles on the ladder, and I never once G-Max Pikachu, but maybe that was my mistake.
Yeah. I mean, do it for the style points. G-Max Pikachu's hilarious. And if
it's amazing.
This is a plug for the official Pokemon site. If you've got $400 to spend, you can buy a giant G-Max Pikachu plush.
What? $400?
Yeah.
I don't need that. Wow, we have very different leads here. Oh, somewhat different leads, right? We have the Tornadus and the Metagross that Will is starting out with, and then we have the Pikachu and the Tornadus that Pat has decided to start out with.
Yeah, I don't. So you tried this team out. Does the Pikachu have Fake Out?
I think it does, yes.
Okay.
And like I said, the Tornadus is typically going to go for something like a Tailwind or a Brutal Swing to proc that weakness policy on the Metagross.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Pikachu, I think, does have Fake Out.
Yeah, and this
Volt Switch
to me becomes really scary because Pikachu is obviously very threatened by Metagross, but what's more threatening, I think, is the chance for full para rolls if this is a G-Max Pikachu.
Indeed.
Will's going to make a really smart choice. He wants to keep his Tornadus, maybe try to stagger out the Tailwinds for later, get the Psychic Terrain up, prevent any like Prankster or Fake Outs from coming out. And just try and probably get rid of that Pikachu as soon as he possibly can.
Yeah, and I think this Metagross, if I remember correctly, is also packing a Psychic type move in Zen Headbutt, so that Psychic Terrain going to boost the power of that Zen Headbutt if that is, in fact, what this Metagross decides to go for.
Oh, well, that's super nice for Will.
Yep, his opponent going to go ahead and proc that weakness policy on the Metagross for him, not even having to set it up himself.
Mm-hmm.
And Pikachu is just going to opt for a Volt Switch, taking a little chip damage on the Indeedee on its way out.
Which means something is going to take a very big Max Quake, and I'm not entirely sure. Like, the only ground resist is currently on the field. I really don't think Kyogre wants to take this.
It doesn't, especially when its most powerful move relies on it having as much HP as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention the fact that this Max Quake is going to boost the special defense. It's just enough to take it out.
And that is a really, really huge knockout for Will. Like Kyogre is so strong, it can be like quite the presence on the field. Now there's no more like water spam moves, which I mean he does have multiple resist because this is the same team. But the special defense boost to me on what is with the Indeedee in the back, that was the biggest offensive pressure that they had.
Yeah, for sure. Not even bringing the Kingdra in this game. So maybe that would be an adjustment if Pat does lose this one to Sir Wilson. Then they might want to think about bringing that Kingdra or something else that can take some of that damage, or do some more damage in case one of your big hitters goes down.
Yeah, and right now, like Indeedee's not really offering any form of pressure right now. So you can pretty freely like just target the Tornadus, try to force those redirections, go for Steel Spikes. Pikachu is not bulky, so it can't take a +2 max Steel Spike.
Yeah, and as we saw, the Pikachu's not even Focus Sash, so one hit from this Metagross is just going to take it out.
Mm-hmm.
The Hurricane goes into Indeedee, does a little bit more chip damage, and the Max Quake is going to come out into the Indeedee. Not quite enough to take it out, but does a good amount of damage and gets another special defense boost on the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really think that Will should use this next turn to try to take out the Tornadus. That Heal Pulse is really nice, though. And try to prevent it from setting up a Tailwind. That way that when Pikachu does come back in, he doesn't even need to worry about the potential damage output or the full para chances.
That's true. What we could be looking at here is Will is about to use his last turn of Dynamax while Pat still has not used one. So we might, in fact, get to see that Gigantamax Pikachu.
Mm-hmm. I mean, personally, I'd be stoked for it.
It is very cool.
Mm-hmm. I love G-Max Pikachu. It's so silly. It's so stupid. And like... I don't know how many people have been playing like the entirety of Sword and Shield, but like at the beginning, it was genuinely scary to face.
I agree. Anything that can paralyze both of your Pokemon with one move is definitely not fun to face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
We don't see a Tailwind from that Tornadus. We just see the Brutal Swing.
Mm-hmm. As Metagross does go for a Steel Spike. I believe this Focus Sash is on the Tornadus, so it will survive. And yeah, I think that this is honestly the point where for me it gets a little bit scary because now if that Pikachu is going to max, if Will can just move, he's gonna win because everything is just too low and he can just freely Earthquake and probably even Expanding Force, to be honest. Pikachu, like I said, is not very bulky, and get the game from there, but paralysis can be very, very cruel.
Sure can. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
we see Will kind of debating over how much information perhaps to reveal in this game one.
Yeah, I mean they have the exact same team, so I don't think they're.
I
hiding
feel like
anything.
that's true, but they are kind of in different orders, which makes me wonder, like, maybe it's not just a cut and paste from somewhere. Maybe there are a few differences, but perhaps not. Perhaps they were just entered into PokePaste differently.
Ooh.
We don't see a G-Max. We just see the Thunder going straight into the Metagross.
Oh, God. Oh, no. That's really,
Full
really
para.
bad.
you hate that when that's you and that happens to you. I still don't think that that's going to set Sir Wilson back too much. It's just frustrating to see that, of course, Thunder, a move that's not very accurate except in the rain, and it is raining now. The Thunder hits 100% accurate, has a 30, I think, % chance of paralysis. Happens, and then the full paralysis on top of it. Just kind of unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's unlucky, but like, this is the way that you lose, like, and that's something that you really need to be wary of, because like, you like, there's a way back in it through these paralysis chants. Oh, never mind, everything's fine.
Yeah, Sir Wilson willing to hit his own Metagross, saying, I am not going to lose this one. Let's just brutal swing and take these Pokemon out.
Yeah, and now it's 100% over.
Yep.
So, because Indeedee is just way too low.
Yeah.
You can max your Indeedee for the style points, but it's not going to get you anywhere.
Not really. The only move you have access to, I think, is that Max Mindstorm.
Yeah. So even if, like, Metagross never moves for the rest of the game, Sir Wilson can just set himself up a nice Tailwind, wait for his Tornadus to go down, have Kyogre come in. Yeah, and just freely go for those water spouts, and it should be game from there. Or even just brutal swing here, because his Tornadus.
You don't want to reveal any more information than you have to. You know, preserve that information for game 2. Don't show any more Pokemon in the back. Battle's just going to be canceled. We're moving on to game 2.
Yeah, Pat potentially going for like I'm going to try and get rid of your Tornadus as soon as possible, stagger out these Tailwinds. Really, really risky move. Maybe predicting the Metagross to switch out or be kind of scared of the Pikachu. But that very risky play that did not play out in their favor.
Yeah, I really, if I'm Pat, I wanna see the Kingdra come this time.
Yeah, the Swift-Swim Kingdra could be very valuable. Metagross. So like, here's the really nice thing about water spam is that it hits a lot of things neutrally, and when you're boosted by the rain and like even things like Helping Hand and stuff like that, you're dealing a lot of damage. I have very easily 1v1 Metagrosses with special defense boost with my Kingdra, just because the geysers are just doing so much damage.
Yep. And not to mention, it has access to Airstream, another form of speed control. It's not super effective weak to electric or grass, so it really pairs nicely in a rain team that is usually hit super effectively by those kinds of moves.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, so we're going into game 2. And let's see what kind of adjustments happen on this end.
Kyogre Metagross, interesting from Pat.
Yeah, so I kind of like this lead. Like, one, you're threatening the big water spout / origin pulses from Kyogre, but on the other hand, you're saying you can't trigger your own weakness policy without also triggering my weakness policy.
Very true. If that Tornadus decides to go for something like a Brutal Swing here, both Metagrosses are going to get a weakness policy boost from that move, because it is an AoE attack. It attacks everybody on the field.
Yeah. And the only drawback to that is that they have no Tailwind that they can set. So the speed advantage, if Will chooses to go for it, will just be in his favor. And then the other thing that's potentially kind of scary is that Ground type could switch in. So
we're going to see Will go ahead and max on turn 1. Do you think we're going to see... What?
Did you not get a background today?
No, I didn't. Nobody sent me a background. So I'm just green screening it.
Yeah. Let the green screen to shame our viewers.
Yeah.
Despite the fact
I like the green screen. I look good in green.
All right. Interesting. Will just decides to go for the max guard. I think he just doesn't want to take the double up.
Makes sense. Kyogre gonna go ahead for the Thunder into that Tornadus, which is, we know, Focus Sash, so it's going to live that hit. Interesting to see if that Metagross on the other side went ahead and targeted it, but it didn't. That Earthquake, it's going to be immune to that. So the Tornadus is going to live another turn, only hitting their own Kyogre.
Yeah, I kind of like that play. It was maybe a bit more of a read than you necessarily need to make, saying I don't want to take a origin, or I don't want to take a water spout and a max quake on my Metagross, so I'm just going to guard, so I know that I'm faster, so they can brutal swing, trigger my weakness policy, and then start going crazy.
There's the brutal swing, which is going to proc the weakness policy on both of those Metagross, and chipping Kyogre down some more, so it's not going to be dealing those full HP water spouts.
Mm-hmm. Also proccing the weakness policy on the opposing Metagross.
Yep.
But like we said earlier, Will has the speed control, so he gets his Quake off and he gets himself a nice special defense boost.
The interesting thing, that Metagross is just going to go ahead and go down to Will's Metagross. The interesting thing will be if Pat has Tornadus in the back, it might be able to set up a Tailwind late game after Will's Tailwind expires.
Yeah, and that Origin Pulse still does a lot of damage, though, even at +1. The technical weaker of the two moves.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a spread move, it is very strong.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I'd say that things are looking pretty good for Will. Ooh, Kingdra comes out, though.
Do you see the Kingdra? Probably not going to threaten a whole lot of damage onto that Metagross, but we'll be able to threaten some damage onto the Kyogre. Again, not allowing it to get off those full HP water spouts.
Yeah. I think the thing here is potentially Pikachu's in the back to get the Lightning Rod to soak up the Thunders from the Kyogre, but also the Kingdra is still faster than the Metagross, and I don't know if Metagross can survive a Geyser based off of Hydro Pump based on the HP that it's at.
That could be true.
Here comes Pikachu.
So cute. It's going to absorb that Thunder with its Lightning Rod.
Kingdra's just going to go for Muddy Water, which Metagross should definitely survive.
That still did a good amount of chip damage to Kyogre, surprisingly. I mean, it is in the rain.
Yeah.
And is it a Life Orb Kingdra? I think so. But the Steel Spike, that was Steel Spike, right? Or was it Quake? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take that Kingdra out and boost the Metagross' special defense once again.
Yeah, because the Geyser would have been based off of Muddy Water being the weaker between Hydro Pump and that, I'm not so sure that it would have gotten the KO, but it would have done a lot. Now I think Will can just kind of freely Earthquake, protect his Kyogre, and then go for a Lightning the next turn.
Yep.
Or a Thunder, yeah.
Thunder, yeah.
Maybe even like sack your Kingdra because you don't really need it at this point. But then they can just guard to stall out the tail. Oh, it's the last turn of Tailwind. Maybe just go for the speed tie. Like you're in such an advantageous position, you can just protect, Thunder, Earthquake, and then like only one Pokemon can be KO'd at a time, so you should be fine.
Very true, but again, we have that Pikachu, and where there's a paralysis, there is a way. So. Oh, right. I forgot it had Faint.
Nice.
Very fun move.
Big crit. Origin Pulse comes out and double protect, so this is going to do a lot. And because Kyogre didn't max, it's not going to be able to survive
the goner.
Yeah, poor Pikachu. Rip Pikachu.
It got a good crit Faint off before its demise. Mm-hmm. And the Earthquake, yep.
Oh, and Kyogre actually hangs on. So Will's able to take game 2.
Well, congrats to Will. That was a good mirror match set. Kind of fun. It's always tricky to play mirror max. The interesting thing is I don't think that Pat Dynamaxed once in that set.
Yeah, I think Will just did a really good job of keeping up the pressure, so like there was never a chance to.
It's never a good time. Yeah, and it's often tempting when you have a Kyogre on the field, right? And you're thinking, do I Dynamax it? Do I forego this spread damage in order to just target one Pokemon, right? And of course, when you're clicking Origin Pulse, you're always wondering, is it going to hit? Should I go for the guaranteed like one Pokemon, 150 base power move? Or should I go ahead and go for the spread damage? And when you're down Pokemon, it's really tempting to stay small and go for the spread damage.
Yeah. And another thing is like the other idea is like you don't know where the Metagross is targeting, and they have the speed advantage, so it's probably just going to be KO. So you're like trying to just reverse sweep with whatever you have have left at the end of Dynamax, but Will just like kept on too much pressure and there was no way to like come back from it.
Yeah.